Our country's COVID-19 cases are now standing at a 3-digit figure. And as if that's not enough of an alarm, some people are still not abiding by government's guidelines to help curb the spread of this disease. It's pretty simple. Unless it's absolutely necessary, please stay inside. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry, endorsing government's initiative of staying home, or as we put it in our local vernacular, Tana Your Yard. However you put it, it's all to help us get over the very real threat to public health. In today's magazine, we've scripted and published some meaningful things that you can do while staying at home. All that after this announcement.
To properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
So for many, our first unconventional Easter has ended, and it's time to revisit the syllabus and keep learning going. Well, that's the government's plan. So while you're at home, here's how the Ministry of Education is facilitating teaching and learning for you.
As part of efforts to ensure there is no wide-scale spread of COVID-19 in Jamaica, government announced an initial 14-day closure of schools, which began on Friday, March 13. The classrooms are now empty, but learning has not been abandoned.
We will be making provisions to enable online training or continued education online.
"180 teachers have been trained to deliver lessons to students through the web-based one-on-one communication learning management system. The Education Ministry has made resources available to students from kindergarten up to grade 13. A detailed list of online digital learning resources have been compiled and shared with all schools. The ministry has also partnered with several educational providers to deliver content for students at all levels of the education system. These include Book Fusion, Learning Hub, EduFocal, and Cheetah. The online platform Book Fusion Limited exposes children to a host of free ebooks. The website allows students to read ebooks on the primary exit profile PEP, biographies, history, literature, and math, just to name a few. The Learning Hub Online is a Caribbean-based online test preparation website. It offers tests on all subjects pursued by students in grades 1 to 13. It also has hundreds of interactive PEP, G6 NAT, CSEC, and CAPE test materials for each subject offered. EduFocal is another partner of the Education Ministry. The innovative social learning platform combines study with play. While students are at home, the platform is offering free virtual lessons led by PEP master teachers. Study guides, tutorial videos, questions and answers, and examinations are also offered on the site. Cheetah, or Connect to Higher Education Electronic Tools, Apps and Help, is offering free PEP workbooks to students in math, science, ability, and language arts. The small corporation also creates unique educational resources for the pre-primary and primary levels, which include tablets, apps, toys, headphones, tablet accessories, and books. Outside of these partnerships, steps are being taken to liaise with other private and public sector stakeholders.
We have been in contact with Flow, and Flow will also be making internet availability readily accessible to persons on our platform so that they can continue with their education.
The ministry is also in partnership with the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica, PBCJ, and RJR Gleaner to deliver live and recorded educational content to students at all levels of the education system. The programs will air on PBCJ Mondays to Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. with rebroadcasts on the weekends. On TVJ, it's Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to midday.
25 community channels have also been brought into play, and the children now have gotten so accustomed to that kind of interaction with their teachers and with the educational system that it's going to be challenging when we have to return to the classroom, because they're doing very, very well. We have a 70% coverage across the island, and the other 30% where we don't have access to cable and to internet services, we do it physically, manually.
An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. What to do if you think you have been exposed or are experiencing signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Immediately call 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. In addition, you should stay at home. Don't go to work, school, or any public place. Do not use public transport, and avoid visitors to your home. You may need to do this for up to 14 days to reduce the spread of the infection. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
And more things are facilitating learning in a technologically driven world thanks to some brilliant and creative minds molded by our Jamaican soil. Simply put, it's becoming easier for our little ones to stay at home while preparing for the PEP exams. Here's Tekit with our very own virtual PEP tutor.
What I liked about the app is that it helped students to understand basics in different subject areas.
I found it wonderful because it helped me to, in my language arts, it helped me to pass my exam.
PEP Tutor is a free application that works on all Android devices by default for students preparing for the primary exit profile exam to practice with. They can talk to the device, whatever device it is, if it's a smartphone, tablet, a Google Home device, or a smart TV, once it's Android. And it asks them questions, and they can respond by either typing or talking to the phone.
Talk to PEP Tutor. Sure, let's get PEP Tutor.
The idea came out of a discussion that was on Twitter where persons were complaining about the exam, how difficult it is and how difficult it is to find questions to practice. So, being in IT and always trying to use technology to solve problems, I decided to use technology to try to help them. Currently we have science, mathematics and language arts, and we're working on adding social studies and the ability questions. Before now, I got questions from the practice exams that the students were using to prepare for the PEP exam. And now I have a teacher from my primary school, which is Wakefield Primary School. She's assisting me to put the questions together because I'm not a teacher, I don't know how to test students. So she's preparing the questions and I'm just adding them to it. The app works by simply asking the students questions, and it asks multiple choice questions and short answer questions. So if a parent can sit and go through the questions with the student, if the answer that is provided by the student is incorrect, the app will tell the student that the answer is incorrect and tell them which one is correct or which answer is the correct answer. It doesn't show you how to work out the questions. So if it's a maths question and it says 2 + 3 is 5, it won't show you how to add 2 and 3, but it tells you that the answer is 5 and whatever answer you gave is incorrect. Just like any other exam, is to keep the students practicing constantly. You don't want to wait until the last minute, and put them under additional stress and pressure. So from September, or even before, even during whatever holidays, to have the students, go through the different subject areas, sit with them on the weekends, and help them to get prepared. The PEP app will definitely assist students right across the board, whether they're rich, poor, or whether they're in the country or in town, getting better results in the PEP exams. I believe the PEP Tutor app will assist in us achieving our Vision 2030 goal by making access to education a lot easier for students, whether in Kingston or whether in urban or rural areas. And I think, by utilizing technology, will make learning more fun for students, and they will eventually do better.
An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. How to wash your hands. Firstly, wet your hands. Then apply some soap. Rub your hands palm to palm. Lather the backs of your hands. Scrub between your fingers. Rub the backs of fingers on the opposing palms. Then clean your thumbs. Make sure to wash your fingernails and fingertips. Rinse your hands. Then dry with a single-use towel. Use this towel to turn off the faucet. And now your hands are clean. When to wash your hands? After coughing or sneezing, after taking public transportation, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare and eat food, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, after handling animals or animal waste. An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
While most of us are staying inside due to the threat of COVID-19, there are some essential workers who must go out. But there are several safety measures that they're expected to take, such as wearing a mask. And with that being recommended by government, they also want to ensure that it's being done properly. Our Prime Minister and Chief Medical Officer provides some tips on wearing a mask next.
The government has been getting not necessarily requests, but persons seeking an understanding of government's position on the wearing of masks. And I'm going to invite the CMO to give us her guidance on this matter.
The Ministry of Health recommends the use of personal protective equipment by healthcare personnel. Our immediate priority is to secure personal protective equipment for health workers who are exposed by close contact with persons who are ill. Close contact means that health workers are within the 6 feet distance from their patients, and the wearing of personal protective equipment protects them from exposure. They cannot avoid close contact in order to care for patients, and that is why personal protective equipment are a must. The proper use of personal protective equipment by the health worker reduces the risk from high risk to no risk, even in environments of highest possible exposure. But even the highest trained healthcare worker has to be trained repeatedly in the donning and doffing of personal protective equipment. And the area where there is one of the greatest risk of infection is in the removal of a contaminated mask. The general public is encouraged to avoid close contact with possibly infected persons by several measures, including stay at home, avoid crowded situations, and avoid ill persons. Now, many persons are advocating for the routine wearing of masks by the general public. And yes, we agree that it can be helpful. It does offer some protection, especially where there are persons who are coughing and sneezing within your 3 to 6 feet personal space. It is not totally harmless, however, and the public must be cautious. Wearing a mask continuously is uncomfortable, and you must avoid touching and adjusting the mask, as if the mask is contaminated, you will contaminate your hands and infect yourselves and others. Perform hand hygiene every time you touch the mask. As soon as there is contamination of the mask, it must be discarded, as the risk gets higher of you contaminating yourself. If the mask is not worn properly, it will go up into your eyes. Do not rub or touch your eyes after touching the mask. Again, hand sanitize after touching the mask. Discard the mask if it becomes soiled or moist. This increases your risk of infecting yourself and others. You may be taking germs on the mask into several different settings and increasing the risk of transmission. Remove the mask by grasping the loops that are either at the back of your head or behind your ears and pulling forward and away from your face. Do not touch the front of the mask. The Ministry of Health and Wellness recommends the use of masks by persons who are ill with coughing and sneezing, persons who are quarantined or isolated at home with or without respiratory symptoms, and household members who care for the person or are in the same house. Persons who have COVID-19 and have been discharged from hospital should wear a mask for 2 weeks after they have been released and exercise infection protection control measures to safeguard family members. Persons who are at high risk of developing severe illness and complications of illnesses, such as the elderly and persons with chronic illnesses. These persons must avoid ill persons and minimize contact with the public. All other considerations are at the public's discretion. The wearing of the mask must be in addition to other infection control measures, such as regular hand washing and hand sanitizing, covering coughs and sneezes, and avoid touching your faces and avoid contact with ill persons.
A facial barrier can be helpful, whether it is a medical type mask like an N95 or maybe something like this, or probably something like this. It's a pretty nice looking mask. However, there are risks associated with them, and they are not substitutes for good practices that we have been saying. Washing the hands with soap and water. If you don't have, then sanitize. If you have to cough or sneeze, then the bend of your elbow is best, and don't touch anyone else afterwards. Maintaining your social distance. All of that is good. This would be in addition to. But the mask is a surface. And particularly in a situation where it is blocking the particles from coming in, they will rest on the surface. And like any other surface, the virus will live on it. So you have to be careful in, as you say, doffing, that is taking it off. So you can't hold the mask like this to take it off. You should take it off from here. If you're going to make that personal decision, then you should firstly seek not to deprive the medical professionals who would need the mask. But outside of that, it's your personal choice, bearing in mind the guidance that we have given.
Over the past few days, a lot has happened with our country and the COVID-19 pandemic. Our government is working hard to sever that relationship as we move to get Jamaica to a COVID-0 status. Catch the latest developments now.
We are absolutely in sympathy and empathy and understand the concerns that persons have about our nationals overseas and also that being experienced by our nationals overseas. And it's true that there are no easy choices in these circumstances. There are only the best possible decisions with the public health of Jamaica in mind. In these circumstances, I know that the public has been broadly debating the 43 crew workers on the Marella Discovery 2 who are now docked in Southampton in UK, along with approximately, it's a group of approximately 90 cruise workers on about 6 ships that are docked in that port at this point in time. I want to assure you that we are in touch with all our stakeholders, including the owners of the cruise line, about arrangements to bring those 43 workers home, as well as an additional 30 that have been identified as non-essential crew, which they therefore would not require to keep the mechanics and of the essential services of the ship together and it functioning. So we have decided as a government that we will engage with the owners of the line to bring those persons home. This does, however, require the cruise line to undertake their obligations under the Maritime Labour Conventions, which guide not only Jamaica, but they guide the Bahamas, to which the Marella Discovery 2 is registered. And as signatory countries, we expect international law to be adhered to. We regretfully have not been in direct touch with the workers. We've been speaking with the organization, and you must understand that with thousands of workers overseas, it would be a difficult thing for us to manage as a government, direct and individual communication. So to try to ensure that we have the appropriate processes in place, clear and factual information at all times, our approach has been to liaise with the owners of the cruise lines. And just to give you a sense of where we are in terms of understanding where our Jamaicans are, because I feel sometimes that there's a sense that we have one small cohesive body of persons in a specific location, and this is not the case. We have 322 Jamaicans across 70 ships on one cruise line. We have 867 crew members on one cruise line across a number of ships, which we are seeking to confirm. We have 90 crew members on one line across 6 ships. We have 586 on another cruise line across 9 ships, and we have 128 across 4 ships, again in varying locations at sea, at different ports across the globe. So from a logistical perspective, from a communication perspective, and from a sheer capacity perspective, this is a hugely complex matter to consider in terms of repatriation. I know that there are references often to some countries sending planes for their citizens. Regretfully, Jamaica is not at an economic state and a state of airlift capacity to do this, and we're not alone. I want to also add that we have been collating information about our non-cruise workers across the world. And this, at this point in time, we have in one cohort close to 350 persons identified who are seeking assistance across 30 countries. And that's not counting the hundreds in the US that are engaged directly with our embassy, our embassy and our consulates in New York and Miami. So again, we engage as much as we can. We provide support as much as we can. And we seek the best solutions as a government with capacity issues, which with changing circumstances, because of course, persons would recognize that even when we started to discuss the matter of controlled re-entry of our nationals overseas, we did not have yet the spike of the capacity that we have discussed today. We did not have the outbreak of more than 100 persons have been added to the list since then. And this means that there's increased capacity constraints on our health workers, on the quarantine locations that we may have been seeking to identify, as well as, of course, the general considerations of how they will be taken best care of when they return. So again, these are not easy issues, no easy choices, only the best possible decisions that can be made in our best interests as a country as a whole. We thank you for your patience, we thank you for your understanding, and we will be here to welcome you home as soon as we have the appropriate arrangements and capacity in place.
Throughout all of this, we've been encouraging you to stay home, and yes, we know boredom can be just an inch away and sleeping can become an overused activity. But there's so much you can do to keep your mind and body active during this COVID-19 outbreak. Here are some tips. Number 1, do some exercise. There are a range of YouTube exercise videos and channels to subscribe to and exercise apps that you can download. The World Health Organization recommends that healthy adults do 30 minutes of daily physical exercise, while children be physically active for at least an hour. Number 2, try dancing. Now is as good a time as any to open up and learn some other genres of music and dance moves. This is not just fun and engaging, it's also a great family bonding tool. Number 3, start a journal or blog, or even a vlog. Here's a big topic to blog about: the coronavirus. It could be about your experience or other people's stories during this pandemic, and besides, there's also the option of blogging about other areas of interest. Number 4, try meditation. Meditation is one of the best things you can do at this point to relieve stress and improve your overall well-being. Try sitting down and clearing your mind. It's also fine to listen to some life coaches or inspiring stories from others. Protecting your mental and physical health is important in these times. Remember, you, our human resources, are most valuable in the move to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
Government has implemented a nightly curfew island-wide as a means of containing the spread of COVID-19. The duration of the curfew is for a period of 7 days.
There will be restriction on public transportation and all movement except for medical staff, security forces, essential services, and special provisions will be made for other critical industries. We ask everyone to make the necessary arrangements in their daily affairs to ensure that they can be off the road.
As today's magazine comes to an end, we're still begging and pleading and asking you all to stay home, stay put. Remember, you are ultimately the transporter of the virus. And we did show you some ways to keep active and functional while at home. But if you missed any of that, catch the recap by visiting our YouTube channel. Also keep up with the JIS by visiting our website and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. Stay safe and stay home while we prepare another show for you tomorrow. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.